medieval and art and culture. Now 4 days is kind of not that much of time, but still we'll try to cover as much as we can. My only advice would be to you, whatever I am covering in the class, you ensure you do that. More importantly, you try to go over and above that as well. Okay, don't go into the preparation with obviously this assumption, इतना पढ़ा दिया बस कर लिया और इसी में से सब हो जाएगा और आ जाएगा. It doesn't work that way in the PSC, right? Now, the first important thing to note is that suppose if we have roughly around 4 days, so our idea would be that we'll spend something around 2 days on ancient, on medieval we'll spend another 1 day, and on art and culture, roughly speaking, we'll spend another 1 day. If required, we can take some extra time as well, that's not an issue. Now, the other aspect is to also understand that while art and culture we'll be discussing separately as well, we'll be discussing whatever are the relevant portions of art and culture, of ancient here also, and of medieval here as well. So the relevant portions of art and culture we'll discuss in these portions also. Now, see, this is definitely a very important area, more so for your history preparation now. Almost at least 50 to 60% of your history questions will come from ancient, medieval and art and culture areas, right? So if you are getting something around 15 questions, say, on an average in a year, some 7 to 8 questions will come from these areas. Now, out of those 15 questions on an average, right, it can go a bit up and down, total number of questions and what is coming from this area. Now, see, one thing that you should also, and I'm sure you guys are aware that they are even asking you now those assertion reasoning type questions. That's one thing which has changed in the pattern of questions that they're asking. One is assertion reasoning type questions, and the other is where they've changed their options from 1, 2 and all that to 1 pair is correct, 2 pair is correct, right? What this means is this 1 pair, 2 pair correct business means is what? That this elimination that everybody is apparently so-called a master of is not that useful in these kind of questions, right? And the assertion reasoning kind of questions also open up the possibility that they can ask you more analytical questions. Okay. Now, apart from this, and the other things about questions and attempting, etc., eventually I'll discuss. Now, what we'll do first today is we'll start from the ancient history portion. Now, in the ancient history portion, how many of you have read ancient history before? I'm assuming everybody has read, right? Great. So, now when we talk about yes, so when we talk about the ancient history portion, the first thing that we'll talk about is what this, you have the workbook, right? So they'll talk about this Paleolithic and the Lithic periods. Okay. Now, very quickly, and I'll come to this in a minute. But before that, I'll first go to discussing some of the points here, and then I'll come to the workbook. The idea will be that we'll keep using the workbook also to write down some of the relevant points also, and probably to keep on adding things also. It's not that we'll only discuss what is written here. Okay, we'll go beyond what is written here as well. But we'll keep coming back to that also. So we'll keep referring it to. Now, in terms of ancient history, the first topic, set of topics that you should know is about the Lithic period. And this is one topic which students often don't study too much. They're like, yeah, Harappan se hi chalu karte, right? And they have been asking questions from Lithic period, right? They've asked question on Burzahom, Gufkral, important Neolithic sites in India, match the following, which site is found where. So all these kind of things have been asked and will continue to be asked. So we'll talk about the Lithic period, and in this there is, when we talk about Lithic period, we talk about the Paleolithic, the Mesolithic and the Neolithic period. After this, there comes what is called as the Chalcolithic period, and after this what is called called as the so-called Iron Age, which comes into the picture. Now, the things that you need to understand, don't try to just mug this up blindly. There is factual information here that you'll have to learn, there's no doubt, but still there is a lot of conceptual understanding also involved. You all know that the earliest humans which evolved were the ones who were first involved in using stone tools, right? And they also were the ones who discovered, or basically discovered, how to use fire, right? So it is this which people? Lithic people. Now Lithic period is a relatively very large time frame. So you should know what is the broad time period for each of these periods also. Now this is something that we talk about roughly from 5 lakh BCE to almost roughly 10,000 BCE. So this is called which period? The Paleolithic. And Lithic means what? Those who used stone tools, right? As long as you're writing the word Lithic, you're referring to the earliest set of humans who are using stone tools. And these stone tools are being used for what? Hunting, food gathering, and all of those associated activities. Now these points are important. Please understand, यहाँ से जो question आता है, it comes on 2 or 3 things. They can ask you about important sites and where are these sites found, or they can ask you a question about key characteristics of each of these periods. Now when we talk about characteristics of each of these periods, it would refer to what kind of tools they used, okay, or what are the key defining features of each of these periods. So if they are asking you a question, most likely it will be in either of these two. Either they'll ask you what are the key sites, or what are so unique features of some particular sites, or they will ask you what were the key characteristic defining features of each of these periods. Why and how and on what basis do you differentiate Paleolithic from Neolithic? Or so what is the basis of classification? Basis of classification वही है, क्या similarity है and क्या differences है. One thing you obviously would know that we say human settlements evolved in a manner where they are going from Paleo to Meso, Meso to Neo, Neo to Chalco, and Chalco to Iron Age. So the earliest humans are using stone tools. Then they also start using what? Chalco refers to copper. So the earliest humans are using stone tools. Eventually they start using copper and stone tools, right? So it becomes Chalcolithic. Chalco refers to copper and lithic refers to stone. And eventually they are moving towards the use of iron tools as well, okay? And we'll talk about other things later, but that's the broad order. Now in this period, the Lithic period itself is further divided into the Paleo, the Meso, and the Neolithic. Now this period is a very large period. Which period? The Paleolithic period, right? 5 lakh BC almost to 10,000 BC. Now the Mesolithic period is the period which we define something from 9,000 BC to even 7,000 BC, and it can even be further extended up to 5,000 BC also, it is in some areas, okay? And the Neolithic settlements is something that we often define when up to something from 7,000 BC also, even up till 3,000 BC. In some other places it is from 5,000 BC to 3,000 BC also. What the first thing is, you need to know this time period, okay? Now can you identify one thing, that one period is coming after the other, right? But can you also identify one thing, that there is a considerable degree of overlap, okay? Meaning Mesolithic period will overlap with Neolithic period, right? And the same goes for these stories. It is, why am I telling you this point? Because even these things are asked in prelims, that one period follows the other. That's true, right? But is there overlap? Yes, there is overlap, and that is obvious. It's not that one fine day you stopped using landline and the next day it came the what? Cell phone era, right? There was an overlap, right? It was not that one fine day there was no internet and next day everybody was only using internet, right? So technology evolves with time, and as it evolves, you see a considerable degree of overlap, right? So that's one thing first to note. Now, here itself, within the Paleolithic period, is further divided where into lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic period. Now, this breakup also I am telling you, यहाँ पे आपको time period exactly याद रखना जरूरी नहीं है, lower, middle, and upper. But just for your understanding, I am telling you that, for example, this is something that goes on from 5 lakh BC, okay, almost till you could say even 1 lakh BC, and a bit further also. This is almost 1 lakh BC to 35,000 BC in many areas, and this is 35,000 BC to 10,000 BC in many areas. Now, this time period is not exactly important. You don't need to mug this up. Just get a broad idea that this is further being divided into what? Lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic period. Now, the essential thing to note here in this period is ki why are we dividing this into 3 types? Why are we dividing further subdividing this, right? The answer for this you will get if you take a look at this. So if you take a look, so if you take a look at these, right, this is here, you will see a further understanding as to why they are dividing it into 3 types: upper, middle, and lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic period. What you need to know is, that, so if you look at this, right, the earliest period is this, the lower Paleolithic period, right? If you look at these stone tools, these are blunt stone tools. These are stone tools basically, which are basically you're taking one stone and you're chiseling the other stone, you're chiseling that stone or sharpening that stone with another stone, and you're making stone tools which are blunt in nature. Over time, you will find that from lower, when you move towards middle, these stone tools and what they call as knives are made, and these knives are not obviously like the knives you have today, but these knives are also made basically by taking another stone and sharpening one stone with the other stone. Now, once you make that knife, what you can do, you can tie that knife to a piece of wood or a stick and make a spear and do other things also for hunting and food gathering purposes. Third is, when you come to the upper Paleolithic period, you are making fine, sharper, lighter. Please understand that stone tools became sharper, lighter with time. It is understandable. Once humans become familiar with using stone tools, what do? They make their tools sharper and lighter. Why? So that basically they can carry out any hunting activity more effectively. Okay, so you need to slice off the skin of the animal. You'll use a sharp stone tool. Okay, or for a variety of other purposes, if sharper and lighter stone tools are there, they are more efficient stone tools. And this evolution journey tells you what? Humans are becoming more familiar or expert in using stone tools. So you here have what? Blades. Now, why am I explaining you this? Not telling you blindly to just, mugging it up. At least you should get some sense of what you are trying to remember. Now, another thing that you see is that they are using what? Even sharper, biphased And okay, let's not go into all those details, but what you get is that they're making use of blades. Okay. Now the other thing that they're also making use of are perforators and stone tools. Perforator and, not stone, you should say bone tools. See, what they're doing is, let's talk about these tools, right? If you look at this needle, or you look at whatever these tools are, or this spear, thrower, whatever they are making from animal bones. Yeah, they are hunting, and so as a hunting society, what they do is they make use of all animal parts in whichever way possible. Okay. So for example, as a hunting society, what they would do is use the animal bones. So you take a big bone, say a thigh bone. You take the thigh bone and you tie a stone to it, which is sharpened stone. So it becomes a axe. Okay. So you can use it as an axe. You take the teeth. Okay. You drill holes in it, and then you can use it for sewing clothes or any other purposes. Okay. Even today, for example, if you go to Greenland and all, and Eskimos and Inuits where they live, they'd make it a point that when they hunt, they preserve the blood of the animal, and that blood is used to make cakes, and those cakes are eaten during the cold Greenland winters. Okay. Basically, simple point, hunting societies make use of animal parts in all ways possible. Okay. Now, so you should know these types of stone tools. Okay. I did not want you to just mug this up, at least have some idea. They're making use of knives. They are making use of this kind of stone. This is called hand-held axe. Now, please understand what this does not have. This hand-held axe, what it does not have. It does not have a holding what? It does not have something that it is tied to hold it. So it is called a hand-held axe. Basically, you're taking a stone, sharpening it from both sides and using it to kill an animal. Now, the problem with this is you are attacking the animal with a close distance. You are likely to get hurt. Okay. So all these problems or challenges are there, but you have hand-held axes, you have blunt stone tools, then you eventually have knives, then you have blades, and then you have blades and perforators. What is perforator? Again, a very sharpened stone where you are sharpening it on both the edges. So if you see what is there on this, I'll not bore you with further details, but at least basic you must know. See, they're sharpening it on both the edges, not just one side, on both the sides. Okay. Now, that is why this is also being sharpened on both the sides. That is why it's not just called an axe, it's called a bi-phased axe, meaning dono sides se sharpened. It's like having a blade which is sharpened on both sides, right? You have knife which is normally sharpened on one side, right? They're sharpening it on both sides. Now, and you have the use of bone tools, okay, by the end of upper Paleolithic period. Now, आपको इतना ज़्यादा नहीं डिटेल में घुसना है क्या कि what is the characteristic of lower, what is the characteristic of middle, what is the characteristic of upper, but you should have broad idea about these stone tools. Okay. Now, so you come back here, and yes. So if you come back here, just write down some of the important aspects about these stone tools. Is that you have bi-phased axis. Okay, you have blunt stone tools. To moving towards to eventually moving towards you have what they call as knives. Here you have blades, you have stone tools. Yes, I know, right? Everything is written in books as well. Those workbooks also I only made, right? So my point is this, देखिए आप जब तक नहीं कुछ लिखेंगे, कुछ नहीं there's a very proven psychological basis of why writing ensures that whatever you are learning, you remember it longer, right? Now, so one of the things is you get this differentiation, right? Now, this is about the earliest stone tools. The next obvious thing that you need to understand is where are these these earliest humans who are living, where are they found, which regions they lived in, more importantly, how did they ensure their livelihood or how did they live. Now, यहाँ पे कुछ points हैं जो आपको पता होने चाहिए. When we talk about these lithic people, or when we talk about the lithic period, right? And अब मैं जो आपको बता रहा हूँ पहले, ये is about their livelihood, or how did they live. And this I'm writing the word not Paleolithic, I'm writing the word lithic, right? So if you see the earliest of this Paleolithic people, how are they living? Their predominant mode is hunting. How are they surviving? Based on hunting and food gathering, right? But, and also please understand, they are making use of stone tools, and these stone tools, and I'll come to this point about stone tools again. If you have to make stone tools, you need good quality stones. जहाँ stones अच्छे मिलेंगे, वहीं you will find the earliest human settlements. And where will you find good quality stones? Close to mountains. So the earliest human settlements will be closer to mountains. And I'll come to this point again. But when you see, the point is, what are they not doing? What are they not doing? And that is something that you start witnessing in the Mesolithic period. The point about hunting and food gathering is that hunting and food gathering does not rely primarily in any way, primarily does not rely on agriculture. So hunting and food gathering societies ka population as compared to those who rely on agriculture will be lesser or more? Less. So hunting and food gathering societies will be relatively smaller societies in terms of number of people. But you will see movement from hunting and food gathering towards the next step, the domestication of animals. And this is something that you will witness, say, from this 9000 to the 7000 or the 5000 BC period, that you will see domestication of animals, and you will also see some elements of beginning of agriculture, beginning of some form of agriculture. Now, please understand, this is only the some form of beginning of agriculture. Now, जब agriculture भी है, तो आप उसको shifting agriculture भी हो सकता है वो, and settled agriculture भी हो सकता है, right? So it is not so much settled agriculture, but they are starting some form of agriculture, which is the beginning of agriculture, which may be of a shifting nature. So, अगर just for your understanding, just write down here. जो आप पढ़ते हैं ना, झूम कल्टिवेशन, ये वो शिफ्टिंग एग्रीकल्चर, स्लैश एंड बर्न टाइप ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर. Also, what do they see? Domestication of animals. And one of the earliest animals to be domesticated is whom? The dog. Right. So, dogs being domesticated, and you see this is there. Now, the domestication of animals, just remember from prelims point of view, here is not happening for milk. Please remember this point. They are not milking these animals. It is not happening for milk. Animals are being domesticated for what? For a variety of purposes. Like what? You need their wool. You use animal skin. You use their wool. You need animal skin to make clothes, especially for winters. Or you can use their wool. More importantly, you are raising them for meat also. So hunting and food gathering, say, while they are moving towards domestication, the use of animal milk is not so much there. Why am I emphasizing this point? Because it will become relevant later. Okay. So, so just if you want to write one point here, domestication of animals was not for milk. Okay. Now, this is which period? The Mesolithic period. And these are the characteristic things. Question prelims में ऐसे ही आता है that the Mesolithic period was characterized by, and if you were to please understand that the word here, domestication of animals, was characteristic of which period? Mesolithic period. Okay. एग्रीकल्चर के आगे नहीं लिख रहा हूं मैं कैरेक्टरिस्टिक. कैरेक्टरिस्टिक बोलने का मतलब है समथिंग विच इज द हॉलमार्क ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर पीरियड. One activity or mode of livelihood may be found in two different periods also. The moment you use in the MCQ the word characteristic, you are saying the defining element of that period. Okay, so always read the question carefully. Which of the followings were, or which of the following characteristics, or sorry, which of the following features are characteristic of the Mesolithic period? अगर question ये है, then the answer is what? Domestication. Which of the following were found in the Mesolithic period? And then the options can be found in the Mesolithic period, domestication of animals and the beginning of agriculture, and then both are right. So read the question always in history carefully, and even in other places, when especially in history when you are using the word characteristic, defining feature, they are looking for the most important feature on the basis of which you categorize. देखिए एग्रीकल्चर ऐसा तो है नहीं कि एक ही पीरियड में मिलेगा, कई और पीरियड्स में भी मिलेगा. बट व्हेन डू यू से कि दिस इज अ एग्रीकल्चर के बेस पे हम इसको यहां रखेंगे कि कहां रखें. सो दिस इज द डिफाइनिंग कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर. व्हाट? डोमेस्टिकेशन ऑफ animals. There's another defining feature about Mesolithic period that you should know, and that is what? Use of another type of stone tools, which are that microliths. So it is here another defining feature is the stone tool type, and the defining stone tools here were which? Microliths. Now what are microliths? Basically and microliths and composite stone tools. Okay, so these microliths and composite stone tools, ये हैं इसके defining feature. किसके? Mesolithic period के. Now please understand, in this period, what is these microliths? Microliths are small. For example, there are small stones. And what do? You take a number of small stones and then do what? You put together a number of small stones and say tie them with a piece of rope. Okay, and do what? And this, and you keep multiple stones and tie them, and you can make what? Fishing nets. You can make, for example, fishing nets. Or for example, you can do what? Take two stones, tie them together and make a slingshot and other things. So what are they doing? Combining two stones or more stones together to make composite stone tools. Taking small stones, tying them together and making different types of stone tools. So that from fishing nets to a variety of other kind of stone tools can be made. So these are microliths and what? Composite stone tools. Is that point clear? Yes, right. So I hope then the third thing that we go to is which? Neolithic period. And in Neolithic period, what do you see? What? In the Neolithic period, what will you see? What you see is the characteristic feature is settled agriculture. Okay, so settled agriculture is there, and please remember also this one point: if the agricultural productivity what would be high or low? Please remember that agricultural productivity is not going to be high, or it is still low, because the moment you have high agricultural productivity, okay, you please understand, high agricultural productivity you need what? Better tools, better seeds, better technology, better knowledge of seasons, everything you need, okay, then productivity will increase. You also need irrigation so that you have assured water supply. So many of these things were yet to develop. What? Better knowledge of seasons, better seeds, better technology, better irrigation facilities. So agricultural productivity is low. Another angle to this is, the moment agricultural productivity is high in a historical time period, you will see there will be a movement towards urbanization, okay, because agricultural productivity means 100 people can produce food grains for 1000 people. Now people living of agriculture can produce food grains to sustain a much larger population. So basically, if you have 1000 people and 100 people are producing food grains for them, then the rest 900 can do other activities, whether that is handicrafts or many other things, and these handicrafts etc. are sold in urban areas, bought and sold by people. So urbanization depends on agriculture with high surplus or high productivity. So what am I saying? In any of these periods, will there be any movement towards urbanization? The short answer is no, right? ये सारी चीजें prelims में पूछी जाती हैं आपसे कि with reference to the Neolithic period, which of the following statements are true? They'll give one statement on the type of stone tools, another statement they may give on characteristic feature of the economy, another statement may be on urbanization, and they'll ask you to pick which of the following are true. So agricultural productivity is low, and what you see is that urbanization was yet to what? Begin, right? So this are some basic points about these things that you must know. Now coming to the important sites, okay. Now when we talk about the important sites, one of the first things to note, and I'll first talk to you about Neolithic sites, okay. I'll also talk about other sites also, but I'll first talk about because I want to drive a point there. देखिए, if so if you see this, okay, now if you see this map, this is a map of the important Neolithic sites, and I'll strongly recommend you कि आप पूरा history में, ancient में map based understanding develop कर लीजिए. It will be very useful because questions can be solved even by if you have a basic knowledge of map. Okay. Now if you see in this period where the Neolithic period, right, I said what was the time period? Around somewhere from the 9000 to 7000 BC to roughly around 3000 BC. Now if you look at this, you will find that in three areas, one in North India, the other in Northeast India, and the third in South India, you will find the maximum number of Neolithic sites. Where? In the north, in the Northeast and South India. Mostly Neolithic sites are missing where? In this region, right? In the northern plains they are missing. Part of the reason is simple. Wherever there are major mountain chains, you will find Neolithic settlements, right? Yes, yes. So that's basically now. So the Western Ghats extend right all the way down, right? So the Neolithic settlements you will find where there are major mountain ranges, and it is here that this period also. So the first is a general orientation. Then you need to know about the important sites here and what are some important key features of each of these sites also. Now, for example, out of these three also, the oldest sites are found in where? The north, here, roughly around the 7000 BC and that period. But still, even in north, the oldest Neolithic site in whole of the Indian subcontinent is found where, and this is important for your exam, Mehrgarh, right? आपने सुना भी होगा, है ना? Mehrgarh is in today's Balochistan region, and it is the oldest site dated to 7000 BC. And what is unique about Mehrgarh? What is unique about Mehrgarh? Sorry. So, what is unique about Mehrgarh is just one second. Yeah. So, what I was saying was what is unique about Mehrgarh is that this is the oldest site found in Balochistan region, and this is the oldest site dated to 7000 BC, जहाँ पे what we have found evidence of agriculture, or evidence of agriculture in the form of evidence of a plowed field. And if you see here, and I'll show you that also eventually. So you find the oldest evidence of proper agriculture being carried out where? In Mehrgarh, and that's why it's an important site. Coming here to further to Burzahom, and in the north you will find in the Jammu and Kashmir region you have Burzahom and Gufkral. Okay, Burzahom and Gufkral. Now, Burzahom and Gufkral are important sites. देखिए, the temperature here is cold. In these northern mountains, the temperature is cold. And so, the people who are living here in Burzahom and Gufkral, they have certain very unique features. One is that what they have are, where are they living? In terms of their, in terms of where they live, they are the ones who are living, because of their cold temperature, so they're living below what? The surface, right? So they are living in underground pits. So this is called pit dwelling. So ये क्या कर रहे हैं? Basically they are digging caves underground and they are living there. Why? Because it will help them escape the cold, harsh winters. So they are doing what? Pit dwelling. Okay, that's where they are living. Also, what you find here, evidence of dog burials. Remember, I told you that from the Mesolithic period itself, they have started domesticating animals. So you find evidence of dog burials also. The term Gufkral, Gufa, right, itself refers to those who are cave dwellers. And so you find evidence of dog burials and you find evidence of underground pit dwelling. It's located close to Srinagar region, Burzahom and Gufkral both, right? So that's another important. And these are again sites dated somewhere to around the 7000 BC period. Now you come to northeast India, in the Garo and Khasi hills, in the Meghalaya region, etc. You will find there are other sites, and these sites are dated to around 4500 BC period. Okay, and there the two important sites are Markodla and Darjeeling. You don't need to remember too much, just remember that they are what? Important sites from northeast region. Okay, now then you come where? To south. Okay, and here please understand that when you talk about South India, you will find a number of what? you'll find a number of sites in South India region, and here the date is roughly around 3000 BC. What? The time period for which these stone tools have been recovered, roughly around 3000 BC. Now, the first thing to note about South India is, पहली बात कि the maximum number of Neolithic sites कहाँ दिख रही हैं आप? South India. The reason partly for this is said to be what? That it is in the Western Ghat regions, etc. Good quality, high quality stones are found. Which is which stones? Granite stones. आपने कर्नाटका और इधर पे granite होता है, right? So granite stones are more durable. Okay. So basically, they are able to make better tools here. So you would find that the maximum number of stone tool types, the maximum, if you will see, so the maximum sites that you will find are in South India, and here the important names you must know. There is Nagarjunakonda, and for example, there are many names. Nobody is going to ask you all the names and you can't remember. But when it comes to Nagarjunakonda, when it comes to Brahmagiri, okay, and you will find there are others like also Piklihal and all, I'll go to later, but Brahmagiri, Nagarjunakonda, these are at least a couple of names that you must remember to begin with. So this is the South Indian actor, right? I think Andhra actor Nagarjun, right? So ऐसे याद रख लीजिए, जैसे भी आप याद रखते हैं. Brahmagiri and the maximum number of sites due to the availability of good quality granite stones which are more durable. So what you would find is, this is a basic understanding. Now remember, in northern plains itne zyada you will not find what? Neolithic settlements. You will not find many Neolithic settlements. There are though a few, and for example, an important one is this site of in the Belan Valley in UP, Chirand, Chirand. Now this, from this site, what they have found is stone tools. Sorry, from this side, where what they found is bone tools. So bone tools have been found here, and that is an important feature of this site. अभी एक और important site के बारे में बात करनी है यहाँ पे, जो आपके लिए important है ही. Okay, and that, for example, is Bhimbetka. Okay, now I'll talk about Bhimbetka because it's a very important lithic site in India. Okay, bone tools, Chirand in the Belan Valley. Now I'll give you a statement. The oldest human settlements in the Indian subcontinent have been found in Mehrgarh. True or false? False. मैंने ऐसा कुछ नहीं बोला है. मैंने बोला oldest evidence of agriculture has been found in Mehrgarh. देखिए यही सब होने वाला वहाँ है ना, कि हमने ये तो सुना था, ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है. Oldest evidence of agriculture is found in Mehrgarh. Some of the oldest evidence of human settlements, Mehrgarh तो आपने बोला एग्रीकल्चर का एविडेंस कब मिल रहा है? नियोलिथिक पीरियड में. उसके पहले भी तो कुछ रहा होगा इंडिया में, मीजोलिथिक, पेलियोलिथिक, कोई तो साइट्स रही होंगी, राइट? सो देयर आर मेनी अदर लिथिक साइट्स प्रीडेटिंग नियोलिथिक आल्सो. right? So I'll talk about them just for a minute here. So and उसमें भी the oldest sites that we know of come from Bhimbetka. Okay, so some of the oldest sites in the Indian subcontinent of human settlement, evidence of human settlement that we know is from Bhimbetka. Where is Bhimbetka? Narmada Valley, Narmada River, close to the Narmada River, right? And this is in the Madhya Pradesh region. Right? Now, but before we go there, so if I was to, just say write down the names of a few other lithic sites, and here I am talking about, say, to begin with, Paleolithic sites, and many of the Paleolithic sites also become what? Mesolithic sites. So you will find Bori in Maharashtra, Chirki Nevasa in this region. They are some of these Paleolithic sites. What about the important site of Bhimbetka? Please understand that Bhimbetka के लिए जो इसका टाइम पीरियड बताया जाता है, it is considered that the Bhimbetka is one of the oldest site of human settlements in the Indian subcontinent. Now, the word here is also one of the. It's mostly, it's very difficult to say with very certainty कि नहीं सबसे पहले यही हुआ था, right? So it is one of the oldest sites of human settlements, and यहाँ पे आपको where in Bhimbetka we found evidence that starting even from upper Paleolithic period, even probably before upper Paleolithic period, there were human settlements there, and then stretching into Mesolithic and partly into other phases eventually later as well. So what you would find is somewhere from before when? Before which period? 10,000 BC, right? Upper Paleolithic period बोला था ना 10,000 BC. So यहाँ से लेके या इसके पहले से भी almost up to 7,000 or 5,000 BC, you would find the evidence of human settlements. So for a good 5,000 years before many other places that we know of. So it's one of the oldest नहीं कहा जाता, one of the oldest ही कहा जाता. Okay, so that's one thing that you will find. And Bhimbetka में also you find the earliest evidence of human art, right? And that is the paintings of Bhimbetka, right? Now these paintings that, and Bhimbetka by the way is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. अरे जितनी World Heritage Site है आर्ट एंड आर्किटेक्चर की इंडिया में आपको पता होनी चाहिए. ऑल ज्यादा नहीं है, 25-30 ही है, ठीक है. आधी आपके नोटों के पीछे बनी हुई है ना, 20 के नोट, 50 के नोट, 100 के नोट, उसके पीछे सबके पीछे कोणार्क सन टेम्पल, राइट, रानी की वाव, राइट, ऑल दोस यू विल फाइंड ऑन द बैक, हम्पी, द स्टोन चैरियट, राइट. मोस्ट ऑफ द आर्किटेक्चर की यूनेस्को वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट्स are something that you may have heard or known about before. What is something that you should be doing is, for every UNESCO World Heritage Site related to art and architecture in India, you should not just know their names and where they are located. That is taught in the first class GK book. What you should be knowing is they correspond to which time period, who was the, or it was constructed under which kingdom or which empire. More importantly, are there some very defining architectural characteristics of these monuments? That is what you should know. अरे UNESCO World Heritage Site में रखा है तो कुछ सोच के रखा होगा. So what is that unique? डिजाइन फीचर, आर्किटेक्चरल फीचर एलिमेंट। क्वेश्चन आएगा तो इससे आएगा, ये नहीं आएगा जीके का क्वेश्चन। मैच द फॉलोइंग, एक तरफ वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट्स, एक तरफ वेयर दे आर लोकेटेड, है ना। कुछ रखिए आप अपना मान, है ना। तो इसलिए go a bit further and read out on these things as well. I'll keep discussing whatever I can in the classes, but I mean, this is something that you should do. Now, in terms of the upper, so Bhimbetka, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and here what do you find? Paintings done by cave dwellers, and these paintings, for example, depicted kya? In many cases, they depicted hunting scenes of animals. Yes, they depicted hunting scenes of animals where humans are shown chasing an animal, where they are hunting, etc. They are making use of and they made use of natural colors. Right. The question of why they are painting is a very important question, though, for which there is no specific answer. But the point is, why are they painting? Are they painting because what? They are doing art for the sake of art. Kyun bana rahe art? Okay. Are they doing it just as a hobby? Now, if that's their intention, then that represents human evolution. Abhi tak, have I said anywhere, is there any evidence of reading and writing? There's no evidence of reading and writing. There's no evidence of language. Now, I'm not saying there's no evidence of communication. Communication to hai, hunting, food gathering karna hai. So people need to communicate with each other, right? They'll hunt in groups. So there is communication. But evidence of reading and writing is not there. But you do find evidence of painting happening for the first time. There's the use of natural colors, and there are a few other things that I'll come to later. And there's a depiction of hunting scenes. What is not depicted to begin with in oldest paintings? तो यहाँ पे जो भीमबेटका में पेंटिंग्स हैं, ये Paleolithic period की भी है, Mesolithic period की भी है. Okay, and older paintings have been painted upon, and by older paintings जहाँ पे थी वहीं पे they have done newer paintings also. So archaeologists have found that behind the current layer there are older layers जिसमें भी और paintings हैं. So people have been painting here for a long time. Let's put it that way. तो जो Paleolithic period की paintings हैं उसमें क्या नहीं depicted है? Food grains, because they are not doing agriculture. Okay. Eventually later there is depiction, but predominantly is the depiction of what? Hunting scenes, right? So, and you find this is why Bhimbetka is considered an important site. Now, if that is clear, then yes, it is important to no. See, yes, it's a good question. Ki sir, kaun si site kisne discover kari? Should we know about them? So the main 4-5 fellows you should know about. Okay, think people like Alexander Cunningham, especially the British archaeologists. Okay, you have people like Alexander Cunningham, you have RD, you have John Marshall. Okay, so you should know about the important fellows like Curzon is the one who basically was very interested in archaeological excavations in India. Okay, so British period में जो major discoveries हुई, except for places like and when you talk about what Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, तो आप R.D. Banerjee and Dayaram Sahni इनका भी नाम पढ़ते हैं, वो तो important आपको पता ही होने चाहिए. लेकिन ये जो मैं बता रहा हूँ, John Marshall, Alexander Cunningham, okay. For example, it is John Marshall who played a very important role in discovery of Takshila. Okay. Now these important names you should definitely know. Brahmi script को कैसे discover किया गया? Those 3-4 important British archaeologists, you should definitely know their names and what was their contribution. Okay, not every other, that's not important. Yeah, what? हाँ, so that's true. 1956-57 नहीं है important, है ना? जो important होंगे वो मैं मोटा मोटा बता दूंगा. Can you go ahead and remember? Right. So Vatagar goes off the train. वो भोपाल से जा रहे थे, उन्होंने ट्रेन से देखा ये caves हैं, उन्होंने लगा रहे पता नहीं क्या है. He himself is an archaeologist. He just got off the train out of curiosity, and then he spent a couple of days there. 10 years later, he comes back to the same Bhimbetka to excavate it and finds then eventually. पूरी कहानी है, लेकिन यहाँ अपना एग्जाम इतना ही है ना? ये इसमें ही बहुत चीजें हैं अभी कवर करने की. क्लियर? यस. Can we consider that every Paleolithic site, is it a Neolithic site? The short answer is no. Not every Paleolithic site will be a Neolithic site. Some of them will be. Okay. So that is why I told you the Neolithic sites. अगर आपको exam में question आएगा specific site and where it is found, it will be about the Neolithic period. Okay. And otherwise, what they will ask you, which of the following are Paleolithic sites? Okay. And so this is something that you should note. That's all that you should note about the lithic periods. I'll come to the Chalcolithic in a minute. And before that, I think there's one more thing. Yeah. So this is Mehrgarh's plowed field, which was found. Okay. Can you see these lines? This is the evidence of being plowed by some form of stone tools. Okay. So in excavations, they found a plowed piece of land being preserved, obviously buried under something else, and further excavations reveal the evidence of plowing and a plowed field found in Mehrgarh. The significance of this is huge. However, we don't need to go into this. It's important. इसीलिए ये discovery बहुत ही ज़्यादा archaeologically it's considered an important discovery. That is why Mehrgarh's plowed field discovery, first evidence of agriculture in the subcontinent, the first agriculture, first site where evidence of agriculture in the Neolithic age has been found. Okay, and this is the oldest of the sites. Now, the next thing is to quickly talk about Chalco. So let me just come to this here. See, I have told you almost most of the things जो आपको यहाँ मिलेंगी शुरू में, right? You'll find this also there, the important sites and Mesolithic period. Now, Neolithic, maybe I've given you the map here, right? Make sure that you try to see as many maps as possible. एंड आप, मेरा सजेशन है आप खुद ही मैप बनाने की कोशिश करिए, दैट्स इवन बेटर, तो याद रहेगा आपको, राइट? एंड नाउ देखिए यहाँ पे अगर मैं आपको कुछ और पॉइंट्स बता दूं, इन टर्म्स ऑफ नियोलिथिक एज, एंड यू कैन राइट डाउन दिस विथ मी, राइट? दे आर प्रोड्यूसिंग व्हाट? व्हीट एंड बार्ले, and they stored it in granaries. Now, when you are making food grains, please understand, the moment you start doing agriculture and you are producing food grains, you will store it somewhere. So you are going to have granaries where you store food grains, or you will also have pottery, and we'll talk about pottery later. Pottery की बात मैं अलग से करूँगा. आप food grains बना रहे हैं, you will cook the food grains also, no? Right? So you will need some form of pottery also. So we'll talk about that pottery later. But, and there was they domesticated animals, yes they did, and these granaries were made of mud bricks. देखिए ये mud brick और burnt brick का जो point है, इसको हम बाद में discuss करेंगे. Please understand, if they are making what, either they are having mud houses or at best mud bricks. So what they are doing is, you go to rural areas, you will find walls made of mud, right? Now, these walls which are made of mud or probably mud bricks, they are bricks which have not been heated on a high temperature. So, जैसे आप in the houses that you have here or buildings, you are using which bricks? Burnt bricks. So they're taking the mud, clay or whatever, putting it in a furnace, heating it at high temperature, making it more durable. So you use what bricks? Burnt bricks. In these archaeological excavations, we have found mud bricks, okay, at best, or mud walls. What does this tell you? That people are yet to learn what? Firing bricks. So that advance in technology is yet not arrived. So if it rains heavily, etc., many of these mud walls and bricks will collapse. Okay, that's one thing. So you should know these things because they may ask you some of these things. Now, we'll talk about agriculture, right, and with some elements of limited productivity are there, as I said before, right, and potter's wheel is something that I'll talk about later. Okay. Now, Neolithic sites in North India and all those things, types of Neolithic, tools of Neolithic age, that's something that I've already told you, so we don't need to go into it again. Just one. So, and these things I've already told you, you can go through them. Next, coming to where? Chalcolithic age. देखिए ये जो Chalcolithic business है, एक तो पहली बात इसमें एक you should do a correction. (3000 BC to something around 1200 BC. Okay. In case of this is, and this is very important question, Chalcolithic से पूछा भी गया और आगे भी पूछा जाएगा, because the Chalcolithic period is very important period. देखिए, can you see one thing to begin with already? In this map, basically Chalcolithic people will use which kind of tools? Copper and stone tools. Copper and stone tools, right? Now, when you look at the Chalcolithic sites, where do you find the maximum number of Chalcolithic sites? Western India, right? In the modern day Gujarat, Maharashtra, all these regions. Okay. So please understand, copper tools will be found where? Where there is availability of copper, right? So Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, these are the areas that you will find where, to be more precise, this is the area where you're finding all these sites. Now, so see and the stone age people are not found here. Why? Because good quality stones are not available here, durable stones. And basically the limitation of stone age people is what? They can't settle in plains far away from mountains, because they need to be close to mountains and close to rivers. Rivers is giving them water and mountains are giving them stones for making tools. But if they have to move away from mountains, they need to be able to make what? Firstly, do something other than hunting, and also not be overly dependent on stone tools alone. So the Chalcolithic people, will they be doing agriculture? Yes. And will they be using stone tools? Yes, but they will also start using copper made tools. Okay. Now, if you go here, so if you right, so if you go to this, basically if you go to this map, what you would find is that, let me talk first about ये copper आ कहाँ से रहा है. It is coming from Rajasthan. You still have which mines? Khetri mines. This copper is coming from the Khetri mines in Rajasthan. The Chalcolithic period, as I said, is something that comes after this, and this, as I said, is the 3000 BC all the way up to 1200 BC period. और ये जो खेतरी माइंस है कॉपर आ रहा है, इट इज कॉल्ड एज क्या, तांबा, तांबा कहते हैं ना. तो यू ऑल्सो सी तांबा वती, you see ahar. Ahar is the other name of Tambavati, is the other name of ahar. Okay, you will find Gilund and other sites. So if you see, this is ahar in the map. I think if you see in the book, you will find. Can you see that? Right, there's ahar. There is, and this ahar is also known as Tambavati. Then there is Gilund. So these are important sites. Starting from where? Rajasthan, located close to the Khetri mines. Then all these dots are Chalcolithic sites. Now you can't learn all of them, but here are some important points. Can you see in your map all these dots में कुछ dots है Mohenjo-daro and Chanudaro भी? Can you see? And this, you know, are which sites? Harappan sites, right? Or IVC, Indus Valley sites. And Indus Valley is associated with the use of which tools? Bronze tools, right? So, Bronze Age civilization कहते हैं भाई Harappan civilization को, right? If you mix copper with tin, it becomes what? Bronze. So many of the Harappan sites were previously Chalcolithic sites. देखिए जहां पे पहले से copper tools use हो रहे हैं, they learn that if you mix copper with the right amount of tin, you make an alloy. That alloy is bronze. Bronze is more durable than copper. So many of the Chalcolithic sites graduate to become Indus Valley or Harappan civilization or Indus Valley sites. Many, not all. All Chalcolithic sites do not become Harappan sites. Many do. Okay. So those areas where people first learned using copper tools, eventually many of them start using bronze tools also and become a part of the Harappan settlements or the Indus Valley settlements. Not all. Okay. So अब वो point अभी हम आ जाएंगे और ये लिख भी लेंगे. But if you go back to a few other sites here, जिनके नाम आपको पता ही होने चाहिए, it is where in your Maharashtra region. Okay, and Maharashtra has some of the largest number of Chalcolithic sites that we know of. Daimabad. Which site? Daimabad. Then Jorwe, right? And Daimabad and Jorwe and Nevasa, they all are considered a part of the Jorwe group. They all are considered a part of the Jorwe group, and this is an important where in the Maharashtra region. Region भी पता होना चाहिए. ये कहाँ है? Rajasthan, right? This is in Maharashtra. Then close to the Narmada river, there is another important site. Where? Close to the Narmada river, there is another important site, and that is what? Navdatoli. Okay, so Navdatoli is an important site close to the Narmada river. That's another important site. Now, by the way, this Daimabad, Jorwe, Nevasa, they are close to which river? Yes. Okay, so Godavari and its tributaries. Okay, please understand, human settlements will be close to rivers. Rivers are the lifeblood of human civilization, right? If rivers are dying in an area, most likely people are also dying, right? Case in point, Delhi, right? So if people are also dying, but it takes some time for them to realize that they're dying, right? So you'll find that some of these sites thus become important. And now let's go into some of the other details. You've written this, right? Now, so coming to where? Sorry, coming to these Chalcolithic sites, if you will find, so ये जितने भी हैं, as I said, कि many of the Chalcolithic sites, later graduated into Harappan or Bronze Age sites. Okay. Now, so these sites, as I said, Ahar, Gilon, pottery, we'll talk about later. Now, also please understand that these Chalcolithic people are engaging in what? Agriculture. Yes. And if you look at these sites, which sites? Kalibangan, Banavli, Kodiji, ये सब कौन सी sites हैं? IVC sites, but they are also which sites? Chalcolithic sites, है ना? तो अब prelims में आया क्या कि कालीबंगन ये तो Chalcolithic site, आप लोग आ रहे हैं तो गलत है ना? सही है, it is Chalcolithic and Harappan site, right? So Kalibangan in Rajasthan, Banavli in Haryana, Kodiji in Sindh, Jorwe in Maharashtra. These are all Chalcolithic sites, and many of them are Harappan sites as well. Now, the other aspect, Rajasthan, Banavli, Kodiji and all these things. Now, the thing to note is Chalcolithic period में कुछ और चीजें हैं जो हमें पढ़नी है, वो मैं बता दे रहा हूँ जल्दी से कि पहली बात आपको दायमाबाद में और जॉर्वे में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट आर्कियोलॉजिकल डिस्कवरीज हैव बीन मेड. One, for example, is called the Daimabad bronze, right? आपने Daimabad bronze, just one second. So if you look at this, right, these are the, this is a man, okay, on some form of a chariot, etc., being pulled by no horse, sorry, horse, bull, बवाल हो जाएगा. So bulls, right? So they are called the Daimabad bronze, and basically bulls are pulling this, and this is made of bronze. Now this is being found in Daimabad, and this is a big deal because Daimabad may the finding of this bronze artifact, basically, or sorry, the finding of this bronze sculpture tells obviously that these people are well adept in using tools or anything made of bronze, and they're well familiar with the use of bronze. What this also means is, and it has been said, और ये prelims में पूछा भी जा सकता है आपको, कि the southernmost या westernmost site of Indus Valley is Daimabad. Is that a correct statement? Yes. है ना? तो इस सबका एक significance है. There, it's considered that Daimabad was also probably the western or the southernmost extent of the Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so you should remember this point. Okay, the other is, so what they have found here also, there are these toys that have been found in Daimabad, and thus the Daimabad bronze discovery points towards them being the southern or westernmost extent of the Indus Valley civilization. Then, another very unique thing about what the Chalcolithic period people is, are they familiar with agriculture? Yes, right. Also, please understand, if they are familiar with agriculture and agricultural productivity is also increasing at this point of time, it has been said that some element of urbanization has also been found in Daimabad. देखिए जब हम इंडस वैली की बात करेंगे तो इंडस वैली में हम बोलते हैं ना हरप्पन टाउन्स. So some element of urbanization or some form of urban settlements have also been found in Daimabad. Daimabad पे separate question आ सकता है आपको. Where is the site? What has been found? Because it is that important a site. Okay. So evidence of urbanization has also been found here. Also found. Now, so you have the bronze bulls, toys, and this cart also, which has been found. This is called as the Daimabad bronze hoard discovery. Now, coming here further, where one more thing, and this is about another aspect about Chalcolithic people, and that is their unique burial practices. Okay, a number of them have been found in another place in Maharashtra called Inamgaon, right? And these are the Inamgaon burial sites. If you go to Pune, that is the Deccan Archaeological Society के म्यूजियम में आप जाएंगे, आपको ये सब चीजें मिल जाएंगी रखी हुई देखने के लिए, राइट? सो जीवन में आप म्यूजियम जाना चालू कर दीजिए, बहुत फायदे में रहेंगे आप. यहाँ नेशनल म्यूजियम है, देखिए भारत सरकार कुछ ही चीजों पर अच्छा पैसा खर्च करती है. वन ऑफ देम इज, मतलब सारी चीजों पर अच्छा करती है, ये भी उसमें से एक चीज है, म्यूजियम्स. ओके, सो द नेशनल म्यूजियम, राइट, जस्ट ऑपोजिट द MEA बिल्डिंग. आप जाइए, देखिए, फ्री में 10-20 रुपए में फुल आपका हिस्ट्री रिवीजन हो जाएगा. क्या क्या आपको वहां मिल जाएगा, क्या आपका दिमाग खुल जाएगा, राइट? सो इट इज अ डिसेंटली डन म्यूजियम, and for a country which takes a lot of pride in its own past, India has done a very average-ish job in preserving its history through museums. Okay, but the Delhi Museum obviously is much better than many other places in India, so it's worth doing. Another country much poorer than India has done a much greater job in preserving its history through museums is Egypt. If you go through Egypt, Egypt is a country which is an economic mess, but their museums are world class. Okay? Like if you go there and then you compare them to the Indian museums, you feel that we should be doing a better job. Right? But still, chaliye, let's come back here. Now, if you see what is this, these are unique burial practices. What they're doing is, this is Chalcolithic people are doing which burials? Chalcolithic people are doing which burials? Urn burials. So this is unique burial practice. So what are they doing? They are making pots and burying people in pots. Urn means pottery. So this is what? A pot. Okay, so this is a pot made for the side of a human being buried, and this is an example of seated burial. ऐसा भी नहीं है कि लिटा के bury कर रहे हैं. They are burying them in a seated position also. So seated burials have been found. You can see the feet here, right? Can you see the feet? This is the abdomen portion, right? So that is there. Seated burial practices have been found. The other practice have been found are what? Double urn burials. What is double urn burials? Two pots, and this is pot one, this is another pot, right? And what they're doing is, they're using one pot and another pot and fusing them in the middle, right? And burying somebody inside it. Especially double urns were used to bury whom? Children. Okay, so what they would do is that this is how they would bury a child. So double urn burials were used often for burying children. And another aspect of their unique burial practices was in many places in these Chalcolithic sites, in burials, what they found is they have what? From the ankle below, they have what? Fractured the feet. Okay. Why is that? We don't know. Okay, we don't know much about their religion or their culture or whatever it is, but they basically what they would also do is at times is that they would fracture the feet at the time of burial. Okay, which is for whatever reasons. Now all of this are unique burial practices, and Inamgone is an important site. Is an important site where many of these burial remains have been found. तो आपको मैं बोला था ना कि आपको सिर्फ ये नहीं पता होना चाहिए कौन सी साइट कहाँ है, कुछ यूनिक फीचर्स भी हैं तो आपको पता होने चाहिए about those sites. Navdatoli we wrote on the banks of the Narmada river. What they have found there unique is granaries with remains of food grains, which is the surest evidence that people are doing agriculture. So Navdatoli is an important granary which has been found. Please write that if you have not written, and which is evidence of agriculture. Right. Here you are finding evidence of burial practices. In Daimabad you are finding evidence of use of bronze tools. So this is how archaeological discoveries found at different related sites helps you paint a picture of who these people were, where they lived, what were probably something to do with their religious practices. Okay, so you try to get some rough picture. Evidence of reading and writing, is it there? No evidence of reading and writing that we have till now. We have not, does not mean technically speaking हमारे पास evidence नहीं है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि they did not know, but for sure we have yet to find any evidence of reading and writing. Is this point clear? Now here just coming back to the limitation of what, sorry, coming back to this, right, limitation of Chalcolithic people and why they disappeared around 1200 BC. Okay, see, most likely यहाँ पे there are a couple of reasons. First is probably related something to climate change and droughts, and which made the black soil in the region difficult to cultivate. So देखिए महाराष्ट्र और इस सारे रीजन में क्या है, गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र, in the interior region where cotton is grown, which kind of soil is there? Black soil. And in droughts the soil becomes very hard and clumpy or dry, and if there were drought like conditions for successive years, what would this lead to? Land becoming unfit for agriculture, and their tools also, the copper tools, are not strong enough to be able to cultivate the or till the land, especially the hard, clumpy, black soil. Simply put, what I am saying is agriculture is yet to attain very high degree of productivity. Chalcolithic period, is it characterized by urbanization? The short answer is no. अभी आप बोले सर क्या बकवास कर रहे हैं, अभी आपने बोला दाइमाबाद में there is evidence of urbanization because Daimabad eventually became a IVC site. Chalcolithic period is not characterized by what? Urbanization. Please remember this. फालतू में आपने बाद में गलत करा है क्वेश्चन कि आपने ही बोला था दाइमाबाद में अर्बनाइजेशन मिलता है, and Daimabad is a Chalcolithic site. So A is equal to B, B is equal to C, so A is equal to C, right? So here agricultural productivity was yet limited, unable, and was limited, and that is why what is happening, In cases of droughts, इनके पास क्या नहीं है? Surplus agriculture. अरे drought हो गया 1-2 साल, so if you have enough food grain stored for 1 or 2 years, you can sustain through droughts. But here they are finding it difficult to sustain very large populations. Yes, the population size is larger than lithic period, okay, but it is yet to become major urban centers. So limited agricultural productivity is there, is still limited. And what so the reason for their disappearance has something to do with climate change, droughts, etc. Why do, or something to do with some form of disease. How do we know this? Because we have also found mass burials, yani places where a number of people including children are buried, right? Now mass burials can happen also in cases of wars, okay, like in wars mein obviously many of these skeletons should be showing signs of injuries or grievous injuries, which is not the case. And burying and killing a large number of people requires also what? Technology. Who were the ones who specialized in this? It's Hitler's Germany, right? It is Hitler's Germany which did all the innovations which made it possible to kill large number of people in short span of time. Either diseases can do that. For humans to be doing that, you need chemical weapons, you need all of that. All of that is invented in Hitler's Germany. Okay, so a number of the top scientists of the world were put together only to find out ways of killing large number of people in small amount of time, right? So which is not happening. So maybe wars, but yet to find any evidence of war, disease, illness, or something of that sort, right? We don't like these kind of explanations. क्या हुआ? अरे Indus Valley civilization wiped out because of climate change. People are like नहीं, किसी ने मारा ही होगा. Right, so we don't like these explanations because they are not very fancy, but most likely that is the case. Now, we'll come to all of that later eventually. Now, as I said, that the soil in the west region is the black soil region, is the black soil. The evidence of domestication of animals was found. Chalcolithic period को अगर आप Indus Valley period से compare करेंगे, so urbanization, is it found here? No. Is it found here? Yes. Right. Reading and writing, is it found here? No. Is it found here? Yes. Harappan पढ़े लिखे है ना. Pottery we'll talk about later. Sorry. So right. Remember these because prelims में ये चीजें पूछी जाती. Yes. No, that's what I said, that Daimabad, etc. they found urbanization, evidence of urbanization in Daimabad, because it is Chalcolithic and IVC. We cannot be sure, most likely it is true about Daimabad. Or also, why am I saying what is found in Daimabad has not been found in many other sites. So maybe Daimabad became a Harappan site later, but many other Chalcolithic sites did not. तो इसीलिए मैंने बस Daimabad के बारे में आप याद रखिए. अगर क्वेश्चन आता है Chalcolithic period characterized by urbanization, false statement. Daimabad, evidence of urbanization found, correct statement. Clear? Okay. Now pottery I'll discuss later. Coming where? इन पे आ जाते हैं, किस पे? हरप्पन पे, राइट ना. ये तो आपको सबको पता ही है ना, बचपन से पढ़ते आ रहे हैं. देखिए मेरे हिसाब से we Indians have little understanding of Harappan civilization. The more you read, the more you will be fascinated. आप में से किसी का फालतू समय होगा जीवन में तो एक छोटी सी किताब है, People of the Indus. Okay, this is by Nikhil Gulati and John Mark Keuner. It's by Penguin Publication. 100-150 पेज की है, कॉमिक बुक की तरह लिखी हुई है, और व्हाट अ बुक इट इज. ओके, बट वो शौक के लिए, आपको कभी पढ़नी हो तो आप पढ़ सकते हैं, पीपल ऑफ द इंडस. ओके, एंड brilliantly researched, well written, well presented, like if I was to say history books must be written some way, I think this is the way. Okay. Now, John Mark Kuhner is himself a very big authority on Harappan archaeological. He's a very eminent historian, and Nikhil Gulati is also very good. Now, and what do we read? We read Spectrum. Right. उस किताब को पढ़ने में आपको एक दिन से ज्यादा या 2 दिन से ज्यादा नहीं लगेगा. Like that book I'm telling you, हरप्पन, कई ऐसी भी चीजें उसमें जिससे क्वेश्चन आ सकता है आगे, एंड जो आपकी किताब में नहीं है. ठीक है. But 2 days also to give only reading about Harappans. Why not watch a Bollywood movie on Harappa and get done with it? Right. उससे सब हो जाएगा ना. So that is that. But if you get time, you should read it. Is my thorough suggestion. So Alexander Cunningham, दयाराम साहनी ने कौन सी साइट डिस्कवर की? आर.डी. बैनर्जी, मोहनजोदारो. नाउ ठीक है, अब मैं आता हूं दूसरी चीजों पे जो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. फर्स्ट है ना, दैट इज अबाउट हरप्पन सिविलाइजेशन का. आपको टाइम पीरियड पता है? देखिए, यहाँ पे कुछ चीजें आपको पता होना चाहिए कि हरप्पन सिविलाइजेशन का जो हम टाइम पीरियड कहते हैं वो कहते हैं समथिंग फ्रॉम 3000 BC टू द समथिंग अराउंड 1700 BC. इसको कहते हैं क्या? अर्ली. एंड इसको कहते हैं क्या? लेट. सो इफ आई वाज टू से समथिंग फ्रॉम right 1900 to 1700 BC. Yes, early, middle and late. Middle is what? The mature phase, 2500 to 1900 BC. Now this is also when we can say is the Harappan civilization is at its peak. Okay. Now हम जो ज्यादातर बातें करेंगे, it will be about which phase? The mature phase. Okay. The first obviously important thing जो आपको हरप्पन civilization के बारे में पता है ही और होनी चाहिए is about the sites. Which are the major sites and where are they found? Now, in terms of the major sites, and also what you should be knowing is what are the unique features of each of these sites, right? So if you look, right, ये एक map है which basically shows you the geographical extent of the Harappan civilization, right? So you can see it has all these regions. Which two rivers are there? The Indus river systems. Yes. Sorry. The Indus river system is there, and the other river system is what? Right. So one is this Indus river system. The other is which? The Ghaggar Saraswati. या घग्गर हाकरा. That's the other river system. 2 rivers, not 1, right? So the Indus river system and the घग्गर हाकरा, या जिसको कई लोग सरस्वती भी कहते हैं, the घग्गर हाकरा river systems are the systems around which the Indus Valley civilizations are located. Yes. अब ये जो साइट्स हैं आपको कहां कहां मिली हैं? इन द पंजाब रीजन, राइट? सो व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट से व्हिच इज दिस पंजाब रीजन, व्हिच इज द वेदर द पाकिस्तानी पोर्शन ऑफ पंजाब और द इंडियन पोर्शन ऑफ पंजाब, देन यू हैव द एडजेसेंट मॉडर्न डे हरियाणा रीजन, राइट? देन यू हैव व्हिच रीजन? द राजस्थान region, right? Then you have which region? the Gujarat region, right? Sorry, sorry. When you have the next region that you have is which region? The Sindh region, right? Sindh, right? And then you have which region? You have the Gujarat region. So you have Sindh, you have Gujarat, you have Rajasthan, you have Punjab, you have Haryana. Seems like a big area, right? So the Indus Valley civilization is almost 1/3 of the geographical size of India today. It doesn't seem that big आपको ऐसे देखने में, but it is that big. Okay, multiple, like Sindh itself is a huge area. Some portions of Balochistan etc. are also there, but broadly speaking, these areas are covered here. तो आपको हर एरिया के इंपॉर्टेंट साइट्स पता होने चाहिए, ठीक है? कहीं से भी क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हो यहाँ पे साइट्स का, कोई ईमान धर्म नहीं है. ओके, देयर आर रफली अराउंड 2100 Harappan sites, so obviously you can't remember all of them, right? But the big ones you should definitely know, and also some important characteristics of each of these sites. तो देखिए, let's go from each of these sites one by one. If you go where, if you look at this, right? Let's start. If you start from where? पहले तो हम देखिए ये इंडस वैली पे सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट ऑफ द साइट से ही चालू करते हैं. क्या? मोहनजोदारो, राइट? तो आपको कुछ तो पॉइंट्स पता ही है मोहनजोदारो के बारे में. क्या? दैट पहली बात, हरप्पन सिविलाइजेशन के बारे में जो भी एविडेंस ऑफ प्लान्ड अर्बनाइजेशन है, it was found in places like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro to begin with. They are the earliest sites also which were discovered, right? And John Marshall is the is at the helm of affairs at the Archaeological Survey of India at this time. ठीक है? तो मोहनजोदारो जो है, it is also called as what? Mound of the Dead. Okay, it is also called as Mound of the Dead, and earlier, before this was found in 1920-21, 100 years before today roughly, we did not know that something like the Harappan civilization existed. There was no knowledge about the existence of this civilization altogether. The history of human civilization, the history of Indian subcontinent did not have a chapter on Harappan civilization. This is one of the earliest discoveries. By the way, it is along the same time when, just to give you context, 1921 में जब ये discovery हुई, the world did not pay a lot of attention to the discovery of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Why? Because it is in the same year that Tutankhamun's tomb was finally discovered and opened, in the same year 1921-22, okay, in Egypt. So the whole world's attention was on Egypt and not on this. So it took some time, but eventually 10 years it took for the world to start noticing कि कुछ तो यहाँ बड़ा मिला है. Okay, and you had people like R.D. Banerjee, Dayaram Sahni, their life's work played a very important role in the discovery of these sites. So Mohenjo-daro is the Mound of the Dead. तो इसको पहले जो मोहनजोदारो का आपने देखा ना वो फोटो, it was considered to be a Buddhist stupa. Okay, and they're like ये तो ऐसे ये गोला गोला था, Buddhist stupa ही है. And you had people like Cunningham and then John Marshall. They were very focused on finding Buddhism everywhere. So they thought ये यहाँ पे भी Buddhism ही है, that is there. But eventually the findings turned out to be something completely different. Now what you find here, जो आपके एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स हैं, बस उतने पे रहते हैं अभी. सो एविडेंस ऑफ प्लान्ड अर्बनाइजेशन, यस. और ये प्लान्ड अर्बनाइजेशन के क्या क्या पॉइंट्स हैं ये आपको पता ही है, जो आपको प्रीलिम्स के लिए पता होने चाहिए. क्या? दैट यू हैव ग्रिड पैटर्न, यस, ग्रिड पैटर्न ऑफ अर्बनाइजेशन, जिसमें व्हाट डू यू हैव, व्हाट, राइट एंगल पे रोड्स आर क्रॉसिंग ईच अदर, right? Basically you have grids, right? Houses are in grids, right? So basically grid pattern of urbanization, roads crossing at 90 degrees. Right. Now in Mohenjo-daro, a very unique thing also found was what? आपने वो तो सुना ही है क्या कि there is the citadel and there is outer area and all that, and जो central citadel area है where they found the great bath, and we'll come to that great bath in a minute. But before that, another important thing found in Mohenjo-daro is large number of what? Wells, including private wells. Almost how many wells? 700 private wells have been found in Mohenjo-daro. And these wells are used to what? Do what? Take out water, right? Which is used for drinking purposes and all these purposes. Almost many houses in Mohenjo-daro had their own wells in their own house. Okay. So, by the way, 700 private wells were found. So, what does this tell you, by the way? What this tells you is that these people know how to construct wells, obviously, right? But it also tells you that these people know, and Mohenjo Great Bath में भी उसका evidence है. What? The evidence of waterproofing. Waterproofing का evidence कैसे है? Let me, and why is that point important? Sorry, is that if you see this, right? This is the Great Bath, मोहनजोदारो का. ऐसा दिखता है ये दूर से, right? ये पाकिस्तान के 10 या 20 रुपए के नोट के पीछे मोहनजोदारो बना रखा होता है ना. तो कंट्रीज के नोट्स के पीछे आपको कई बार बहुत कुछ मिलेगा. It is one of the best ways. I go to a country, I always look at their notes first. उसी से पता चल जाता है. न्यूजीलैंड जाएंगे आप तो वहाँ पे वो चिड़िया विड़िया बना के रखते हैं. ये चिड़िया, वो चिड़िया. They are very much on nature, whatever. So this is Mohenjo-daro. This is the mound. This is the mound of the dead because this is a burial site. Okay. Then they started excavating. सबसे पहले ये देखा था. But they started excavating and they find all this evidence. Now what you do is here. This is the Great Bath found in the central area. Now this is most likely a ritual pond. You have read about it. है ना? This was most likely a ritual pond. But to make something like a swimming pool or a great bath, the first thing that you need is what? Waterproofing, so that water doesn't seep out, right? And these are being made also using burnt bricks and waterproofing technology. The same burnt bricks and waterproofing is also being used in making wells. Okay, when you are digging wells, so you are using basically that as well. Now, okay, I think I don't have that image here. Maybe I do. Okay, so nonetheless, that's one AI is everywhere. Okay, now so that point is essentially pretty important about what? Dholavira, the private wells. Next, sorry, about Mohenjo-daro, the private wells. Next, एक चीज आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि जितने भी सिंध के साइट्स हैं, whatever are the sites of Sindh region, उन सब के आगे mostly you will find the suffix daro, right? Mohenjo-daro, Chanu-daro, जितने के आगे mostly daro है, most likely they are from the Sindh region. Okay, Kodji is another site in the Sindh region, right? Now Amri, so Sindh region के जो sites हैं, और ये आपसे ये पूछ सकते हैं which of the following sites are found in the Gujarat region, which is found in Sindh region. देखिए, most Indians have no knowledge about Sindh. Sindh is only there in India's national anthem now. It is not a part of Indian territory, right? But at least it is there in the national anthem. And I mean, if you see, Sindh की ये sites भी बहुत important है. Like what? Amri. Like what? बालाकोट. बालाकोट सर जम्मू कश्मीर में नहीं है. Okay. Like Alha Dino. Okay, so Mohenjo-daro, you will find Balakot, you will find Amri, you will find Aladino. All of them are important sites where in Sindh, apart from obviously Mohenjo-daro and Kot Diji. Mohenjo-daro, Kot Diji, Chanu Daro, Daro तो हैं ही सारे. Okay, they are all in the Sindh region. ये 5 एक नाम आपको पता होने चाहिए. Next is also, so I told you a couple of points about what? Mohenjo-daro. Great Bath and all those things you anyways know, right? Now, the other important aspect, let's go to where? Gujarat for a minute. Because this Gujarat region is very, very important. जितने भी sites हैं आपके गुजरात में सब important है. Okay. For example, let's start with 2 important sites. One is Lothal and the other is Dholavira. देखिए, most Harappan sites में, देखिए, most Harappan sites में you will find extensive use of, most Harappan sites you will find extensive use of burnt bricks. और आपको पता है वो burnt bricks were of a uniform ratio, 1:2:4 or 4:2:1 length, breadth, height का ratio, right? So the ratio, these are, most Harappan sites had burnt bricks of a uniform ratio of 1:2:4. However, when it comes to whom? When it comes to Dholavira, you will find that in Dholavira, stone, what? Bricks are not being used for constructing what? Houses and walls, etc. It is largely the use of stone, because stone is abundant in this region. Okay, so it's one of those sites जहाँ पे bricks की जगह stones का extensive use है. Okay, now Dholavira is important for a couple of other reasons also. Okay, let me just come and write down some of those points here. देखिए, Dholavira के बारे में I am saying extensive use of stones for construction. Also, what you find is Dholavira was a place which received relatively low, what? It received relatively low rainfall, and if there is relatively low rainfall, what? There was a strong focus on, yes, strong focus on what? Rainwater conservation and harvesting. And how do we know this? Because in Dholavira, what have we found? In Dholavira, what have we found is what? Storm water drains and what do we find? Storm water drains, and what do we find is water reservoirs. Storm water drains and water reservoirs, and those also which were bringing water from nearby rivers also at times. Okay, so that's also there, but basically storm water drains and water reservoirs have been found where? In Dholavira. If I show you the map of Dholavira, it should have been there, I think, in this, but if it's not there, then okay. So you see what? These are the storm water drains made of stones, the nale, ताकि rain water is what? Is taken and is taken from these drains to where? Reservoirs. And if you're wondering how did this all actually look like, so that's not there, so I'll just think. Yes, so this is this is a very useful map actually. So if you look at this map, okay, doesn't allow to paste it. कोई बात नहीं, तो ना हो, right? So इसको यहीं देख लीजिए ना, क्या दिक्कत है, right? If you look, okay, so even if you look at this, right, if you look at this, right, this is the ground plan of Dholavira. ये जो blue उन्होंने दिखाया है, these are the actual places where they found reservoirs. They were found reservoirs on the outer city limits, big reservoirs. There are reservoirs close to the citadel also that they have found. Okay, so what are they doing? Basically, in these reservoirs, all the drains are opening so that the water gets stored here. Okay, this is all being done in the name of rainwater harvesting so that you have enough water for the dry season, because Dholavira has relatively low rainfall. Okay, now I'm not going into the details, it's not required for us. So if you go back here, that's why Dholavira becomes a very important site. Now the other site that you should know are what? By the way, okay, one more thing, yes, from Dholavira which has been discovered is what this. ये question पूछा भी गया आपके prelims में about what? This is a big signboard that they have found in Dholavira. So they found this signboard ka flat down in Dholavira, and then they recovered and made a plaster impression of it. So these are a chain of symbols which have been found in a 10-lettered signboard, right, which has been found in Dholavira. And this is one of the, why is this so important, by the way? Why is this signboard so important? Because this is most places pe, wherever we found what? The Harappan script. It is merely a few letters, 4, 5, 6, but this is the largest that we've gone till now, that is 10. Okay, so we don't have many long sentences, and that's the problem. What? In deciphering the Harappan script. देखिए, जिसने Harappan script decipher कर ली, उसको भारत रत्न तो मिलना ही चाहिए. Okay, because if you can decipher this, it's a big achievement. There's something that's called the Rosetta Stone. आपने सुना है इसका नाम? है ना? So the Rosetta Stone was discovered in Egypt. That's how they deciphered the what? Contemporary of Harappans are whom? The Egyptians at this time. Their script was deciphered because of finding this stone. And this stone had inscription written in 3 languages. One of the languages was known to historians. That is the Greek, Demotic Greek language. They did not know the cuneiform script. Cuneiform script जो थी, किसकी थी? Egyptians की, which is also depicting symbols. So because they had the same thing written in Greek and the same thing written in the Egyptian script, they did what? Compared the two and deciphered it. We have not found something like this in case of Harappa. If it is found, the discovery the understanding of the script can greatly improve, which has not been found till now. Okay. So the Dholavira, यहीं पे आपको script के बारे में, Harappan script के बारे में कुछ points पता होंगे, मैं बता दे रहा हूँ फिर से, right? That this is a script, okay, which is yet not deciphered. It is which script? Then it is written from where to where? It's considered to be a bidirectional script written from right to left, left to right. Okay, for example, the Egyptians wrote from top to bottom. Okay, the cuneiform script goes top to bottom. Okay, now आपसे वो नहीं पूछेगा कोई. I'm just saying लिखने का कोई एक ही अंदाज नहीं है. Okay, you can write left to right also, right to left also, right to left and left to right also, जैसी आपका मन करे, right? So this is a bidirectional script. ऑल्सो इन सम प्लेसेस आपका ऐसा भी लिखेगा मिलेगा कि इट इज रिटन फ्रॉम राइट टू लेफ्ट, वो भी करेक्ट है. If it is written, it is written from right to left. That's correct. If it is written, said it is a bidirectional script, that is also correct, right? And yet to be deciphered. Right. So that's there. Now, so this is about what the Harappan script also. थोड़ा सा हमने ढोलावीरा के बारे में भी we have read, right? So now, this is the so the Harappans are the first where we find an evidence of reading and writing. Okay, Harappan civilization is the first where we find the evidence of reading and writing. This is the first place where we find an evidence of planned urbanization or a major degree of urbanization. They are associated with the use of bronze tools made by mixing copper and tin, right? All of those things are there, right? Copper and tin to make bronze tools. First evidence of urbanization, or should I say planned urbanization, and also first evidence of reading and writing. What is the difference between language and script? देखिए, I'll come to this eventually anyways later. Language और script का जो major difference है, one language can be written in many scripts, okay? And basically in तो आप एक जैसे आपको रोमन स्क्रिप्ट में आप हिंदी लिख सकते हैं, देखते हैं ना व्हाट्सएप मैसेज अंग्रेजी के लेटर्स में, है ना, क्या हाल है, हो गया विकास. Written in Roman script, but the language is Hindi. Can you write English in Devanagari script? Yes, right. So basically script is what you use to write. Language, one language can be written in many scripts, okay? So I hope that point is clear, right? So लेट्स तो इसलिए आपको प्रीलिम्स के लिए जब आप कई जगहों पे पढ़ेंगे इंस्क्रिप्शंस के बारे में, आपको दोनों चीजें पता होना चाहिए. इट इज विच लैंग्वेज एंड विच स्क्रिप्ट, ओके? एटलीस्ट कि ब्राह्मी स्क्रिप्ट है या कौन सी ब्राह्मी, सपोज इफ देयर इज द प्राकृत लैंग्वेज, तो ब्राह्मी इज नॉट अ लैंग्वेज, इट इज अ स्क्रिप्ट, ओके? सो यू शुड नो सम ऑफ दिस. हरप्पन वी हैव नॉट डिस्कवर्ड देयर deciphered their script. Now coming back to where we were in terms of the sites in Gujarat region, right? ये गुजरात में I said what? Dholavira, then you know Lothal. Lothal भी आपको पता है. Why is Lothal important? Because what has been found? A giant so-called dockyard. देखिए, लोथल इज कंसिडर्ड अ कोस्टल हरप्पन और कोस्टल हरप्पन साइट और इंडस वैली साइट. इट वाज मोस्ट लाइकली अ जायंट डॉकयार्ड, मीनिंग यू हैव रेड अबाउट दिस, राइट? कि एक बेसिकली व्हाट दे फाउंड इज अ जायंट वाटर रिजर्वॉयर, एंड व्हाट हैज बीन हाइपोथेसाइज्ड इज दैट दिस वाटर रिजर्वॉयर वाज अ रिपेयरिंग ground for ships, or where ships were repaired or docked, right? Meaning Lothal was an important trading port for whom? Lothal was an important trading port for Harappans, right? So Lothal, it's a giant dockyard where ships docked, and it is an important trading port for whom? Harappans. And they are doing trade with whom? For trade with Egypt and Mesopotamia. Egypt and Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is this Iran-Iraq region. Okay, Tigris, Euphrates, जो ईरान और इराक के separating rivers हैं, right? Around that, and whom? The Egyptians. Okay. By the way, Harappa was the Harappan or Indus Valley people in the ancient era. The Egyptians and the Mesopotamians often used to call them whom? The term they used to describe many of Meluha. Right? Meluha was the term used to describe whom? The IVC people. By whom? The Egyptian and the Mesopotamian. So we also call them the people of Meluha. Okay. So that's about what Lothal. Now also you see there are a few other sites here जिनके बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए, which is Rangpur, Rojdi. Rangpur and Rojdi जो है, they are considered late Harappan sites. Not mature, they are predominantly considered as late Harappan sites. And I said Lothal is a coastal Harappan site, right? Also you have what? Desalpur and Surkotra. They are two other sites. What? Desalpur and Surkotra is also another coastal site. So will Harappans be shipbuilders? Will Harappan be shipbuilders? Yes, Harappans are shipbuilders. अरे coast trade हो कैसे रहा है? Ship से ही हो रहा है, right? So they are building ships, okay, and they are doing maritime trade, okay, with whom? The Egyptians and Mesopotamians, who are their contemporaries. Now, Desalpur and Surkotra are coastal sites. You should know about them. Now, another aspect जो आपको पता होना चाहिए. So, okay, that's about the Gujarat region. यहाँ पे सुक्तेंदौर, ये कहाँ पे है? देखिए इस कोस्ट को क्या कहते हैं? माकरान, right? This whole coast is this Makran coast, जो बलूचिस्तान रीजन में है, पाकिस्तान के. And in the Makran coast is Suktendor, and yes, so this is again a coastal site located where? On the Makran coast in the Balochistan region. And what they have also found is what? देखिए, horse is a characteristic animal of the Harappan period. True or false? Right? Horse is not a characteristic animal of the Harappan civilization. Right? Now, just one second. Right? Horse is not a horse-like remains were found where? Surkotra, which is which side? Coastal Gujarat side, right? So horse-like remains have been found in Surkotra, and which is a coastal site, but horse was neither well known, what? Was neither well known, was nor characteristic of whom? Of Harappa or IVC people, Harappan or IVC people, right? हॉर्स लाइक रिमेन्स, देखिए रफली 3000 हरप्पन साइट्स हैं, उसमें से एक साइट पे हॉर्स लाइक रिमेन्स मिले, है ना. सो horse is neither characteristic nor well known in the Harappan civilization. The whole bawal around horse is that if you can prove conclusively that horse was well known to Harappan civilization, then you need to answer where did the horses come from, okay, and how does it fit into the picture. Neither have horses or horse remains or bone remains of horses have not been found at many other sites. The only two possible explanations are that A, this is not a horse, this is horse like remains. There is no conclusive proof that this was horse, okay. The second is that probably some of these, if they were horses also, they were brought from where? As a result of trade with the Mesopotamians. If they were also, they were probably brought here in some limited supply as a result of trade with the Mesopotamians. Were animals taken on these long maritime trade journeys? The short answer is yes. The Iranians write about that how, what elephants were brought from the Mesopotamians. Inscriptions talk about that how at times elephants etc. were also brought on ships, okay. So whatever, but horse is not a characteristic animal. I hope that this is clear. अब आ जाते हैं कहाँ, आपके राजस्थान में, okay. So okay, one more thing, okay, about सिंध जो आपको पता होना चाहिए, that चानू-दारो is an extensively or is a site जहां पे characteristic finding क्या थी? Anybody? Bead industry. Which beads? Carnelian beads. देखिए, Harappans are, do they use jewelry? Are Harappans using jewelry? Yes, you know. Both men and women wore jewelry, right? Now, if both men and women wore jewelry, some of the extensive, what are these jewelries made of, right? If you see that this in the Chanudaro region, you find beads. क्या है? They're using stones and drilling holes in stones and putting stones together and making what? Necklaces. So आपने ये stone ये लिया and you do what? Make holes in them, and if you can drill holes in these stones, you connect them together and you make a necklace, right? So this drilling holes is also represents what? A technological advancement. That's why this bead industry discovery is a important finding, okay. So the carnelian beads and extensive bead industry, and that men and women both wore jewelry. How do we know? In many of the burials, they have found that men were also buried with jewelry and women also buried with jewelry, okay. So most likely men and women both wore jewelry, right? So, right, why should women have all the fun? आप भी पहनिए, क्या बुराई, right? So you see that that's another important point about whom? Chanudaro. Now coming to where Banavali and Kalibangan. देखिए Kalibangan is well known for what? Bangles, black bangles, and basically while they are making these bangles, what do they need? Fire. And so what has also been found in Kalibangan as well as in Banavali, but more so in Kalibangan, have been fire pits, right? So if you see these images, right, these are the fire pits of these are the fire pits found in Rakhigrahi, and the evidence of also what? Extensive remains of bangles, Now, what does this all of this signify? All of these are centers of what? Craft. कहीं बैंगल बन रहा है, कहीं ज्वेलरी बन रही है. What does this signify? That crafts are flourishing. For crafts to flourish, there needs to be what? Buyers. अरे पहले तो बनाएंगे किसके लिए? Buyer तो होना चाहिए. And if a buyer has to be there, then buyers have to be there, and buyers will be there when people have enough food on their plate. So unless you have high agricultural productivity, you have urban centers, you have people with disposable some form of income who can buy these products, there will not be production of these goods also. Also, many of them are being used for exports, for trade with whom? The Egyptians and the Mesopotamians as well. Okay. So all of this is pointing towards what? All of these findings help us put together a picture that this was a society where agriculture is also flourishing, urbanization is also flourishing, crafts are also flourishing, and as a result, trade is also flourishing. Right? So that's something that you find in case of Kalibangan also. Now, ये जितनी भी चीजें मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, या तो इससे सवाल पूछा गया है, right, or can be asked in the future. Now, similarly, the biggest Harappan site today is Rakhigrahi, and the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro was the biggest site, but eventually now even Rakhigrahi size has, because excavations have continued in Rakhigrahi for a long time now, and as a result the total excavated size has increased, even surpassed that of Mohenjo-daro. And India में तो biggest site है ही Rakhigrahi. Okay, current modern day India में biggest site is Rakhigrahi, and basically also what you find is early evidence of early, middle and late Harappan settlements all have been found here. One of the unique findings here, very unique findings here, is the lovers of Rakhigrahi. Burials. Basically, in a single grave, they found both what? Male and female buried together, and so that is called the lovers of Rakhigrahi burial. Okay, they have subjected it to DNA testing, this, that, etc. वो सब हमारे काम का नहीं. Okay, but still that's also one of the important sites that you should know about. Roper is also an important site, okay, in the Haryana region, and so you find that, and yes, now so this is some, and if you were to remember, you can remember this side also, close to Delhi, Alamgirpur, right, and I have broadly touched upon all the major sites. Okay, is this much clear? Right, अब हम आ जाते हैं, yes, हम पंजाब हरियाणा मतलब आपका ही है सब, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. IIT रोपड़ वाला रोपड़, ठीक, IIT दोनों ही है ना, एक चीज है कि दोनों में से IIT. तो that's there. Now I hope that this is all clear. Ab let's go to the, see, so in terms of this, right, mature sites जो कही जाती हैं important, वो ये 6 हैं: हरप्पा, मोहनजोदारो, कालीबंगन, लोथल, बनावली, and Chanudaro as well. So Tendar and Surkodla are the coastal sites. I also said Lothal is a coastal site, Dholavira, right, in the Gujarat region is well known for all those things that I told you, water reservoirs and conservation. Right, late Harappan phase are found in Rangpur and Rojdi. Right. देखिए टाउन प्लानिंग के बारे में आपको ये चीज पता है that in many areas what they did is that there is at the center, और at the center का मतलब ये नहीं है कि हमेशा सेंटर में ही होता, कहीं भी हो सकता है ना, यहाँ भी हो सकता है citadel, right, and the citadel would be at a higher level and in other areas there would be smaller dwellings. So what you could find is smaller dwellings, and then even in the further outer area you could find what, even smaller dwellings, right. So basically a classification within the cities, planned urbanization, 90 degrees पे road cutting with each other. तो इस पे urbanization के 4-5 points मैं और बता दे रहा हूँ, उसमें से mostly तो आपको पता होंगे, but in case you are not aware you would know. So in urbanization there is the use of which bricks? Burnt bricks. There is a strong focus on sanitation. By the way, because they are using burnt bricks, what can they do? Because they are using burnt brick, the houses are more durable, and in many cases they are doing double-storied buildings also, right? So even double-storied houses became possible. There is a strong focus on sanitation. So covered drains that they have, right? Also the grid pattern we've already written about. Also you would find that there was a classification of dwelling units, and you would find that in the citadel most likely those of the ruling class resided, and this is here. For example, great granaries were found. For example, in Mohenjo-daro, it is in the citadel area that a big storehouses for food grains were found. Also, the great bath has been found here, for example, in Mohenjo-daro. So you find some of these elements of urbanization also in many of these areas. Is this clear? Yes. Now I'm not going into further details, but that much is something that should be clear to you. Coming back here, okay, one thing that we needed to do also is to talk a bit about what this Harappan relation to Egypt and Mesopotamia and these right. So I'll talk about it in a minute, but just to tell you that bronze tools are prominently known, yes. Bricklaying, yes. And burnt brick. Boat making, yes. Harappan pottery is something I'll talk about later. Expert bead makers, yes. Daro, right. So you find that also. Now in terms of what trade and commerce and seals, जो हमने बात नहीं करी है, तो थोड़ी सी seals पे बात कर लेते हैं, right? Now see, in terms of Harappan trade, और Harappan trade की बात करते पहले, तो वहीं से हो जाएगी seals की भी बात. So Harappan trade basically is what? Long distance also with whom? Egyptians and Mesopotamians, and this would also happen through the sea route, maritime trade, and there is a trade between Harappan sites also. Trade between Harappan sites as well. Okay. Now, for trade to happen, you first need what? A system of weights and measurements. Arey 1 kilo, 1 kg in say Harappa should mean 1 kg in Mohenjo-daro also. It should not happen that 1 kg in one Harappan site means 5 kg somewhere else. So you must have a common system of weights and measurements. Okay. So they do put in place a common system of weights and measurements to begin with. And we find evidence of that. Also, there is evidence of reading and writing. Arey aapko records bhi to rakhne hain. If you were doing trade, you will need records of these many goods worth. See, you can't do this kind of long distance trade without having what? Maintaining records of these trading activities, right? So there has to what? Reading and writing have to exist. Okay. So that's there. The other thing for trade to flourish is what? That there was the extensive use of seals. And these seals basically के बारे में अगर कुछ पॉइंट्स जो हमें पता होने चाहिए, seals के कई पर्पसेस थे. They were used. Seals have been recovered from many Harappan sites. Harappans are not the only ones making seals. The Egyptians, the Mesopotamians are also making seals. So they are not the only ones making seals. But for example, Mesopotamian seals were cylindrical seals. Okay. जो इनकी seals हैं वो square या rectangular seals. Mesopotamians are making more cylindrical seals. Okay. तो वो हमें उतने डिटेल में हमें उनके seals पे नहीं जाना है. But these seals के क्या-क्या uses हैं? First thing. Okay. They are used as jewelry in many cases. They were used to secure long distance trade in other cases. Okay, and secure long distance trade or were used as jewelry also. Jewelry तो क्या है कि आपने seal को पहन लिया. Okay, you can wear it as a jewelry, as a necklace or whatever, right? And if you have very elaborately carved seals, etc., they were used as necklaces. Seals were also used for another practical purpose, and that is to secure long distance trade. Okay, how is that being done? Basically what they would do is that each seal basically would carry some signature or impression of a particular trader. So if pots of goods basically were meant for long distance trade, what they would do is they would put those goods in the pots and then they would cover them with a piece of cloth, right? They would cover them with a piece of cloth, and once they would cover them with a piece of cloth, they would imprint what? They would imprint the seal on it. Okay, and so basically it will have the seal impression. A seal impression is called what? Sealing. Okay, so secure long distance trade and sealings were seal impressions. So basically stamp it with the seal and you have closed that pot. So if somebody opens it on the way, then the receiver knows that the contents have been altered with. So basically it ensures security of long distance trade. So this is another purpose why this was used. And the seal also carries the signature of the sender. So the receiver knows it is coming from whom. Okay, so this is something which is used to secure long distance trade of goods. है ना, पता चला आपने बीच में से कुछ निकाल लिया और वापस बंद कर दिया, नहीं. इसीलिए what are they using these seals? The most famous of the seal, you know, Pashupati seal. Now, by the way, seals, the most famous is the Pashupati seal, but the most common animal depicted on the seal is which animal? Bull, zebu. ZEBU, zebu, okay, or the bull, okay, जैसे आपने वो बैंक ZEBU, zebu, okay, and that's the bull also. Now, basically, if you see, right, तो ये आपने seal impression देखा ही हुआ है, what, right, this is the Pashupati seal. Agar if you want to, the most common animal that we talk about is the zebu and the bull seal, जिसकी बात, right, is done. Right, so this, जो आप ये सारे impressions देखते हैं, ये the zebu bull या जो bull seal, this is a very official site, the Harappa. This is a site called Harappa. Okay, they've just done a very great job of collecting all the relevant archaeological findings. So this is actually not the seal, this is a seal impression, okay, of the zebu or the bull seal, and you find the pictographic depiction of the script there, right? This most probably would be the name of the seal owner, okay, and this is the zebu or the bull seal. And for example, जैसे वो IndusInd Bank का अगर आपने logo देखा हो तो वो इसी पे based, right, on the, because this is the most important of the animals. So the zebu or the bull seal was the most common of the seals. The Pashupati seal, as it is called today, this seal basically, इसमें बहुत सारे animals हैं, वो पता होने चाहिए आपको, right? That the Pashupati seal में you see a seated figure sitting in the center, an animal surrounding him. It seems that the animals are being controlled, or by whom? This person who's sitting in a sort of a meditative pose in the center. And these animals कौन से हैं ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. There is the rhino, right? So there is the rhino, there is the bull or the zebu, right? There is the elephant, and there is also whom? Tiger, है ना? कोई तो ये rhino, bull, elephant and tiger most likely, and there is enough evidence also otherwise to say that the Harappans were familiar with these animals, which is not depicted. Horse, सारा बवाली horse का है, right? Of all the major seals that have been found in the Harappan seal impressions that have been found, not even a single depiction of the horse has been found, which most probably again continues to point towards the fact that the Harappans were not well acquainted with whom? The horse. Okay. By the way, if I tell you, there are many seal impressions which are very similar in design for the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians and whom? The Harappans. Okay. Very similar seals are also there. For example, most Harappan seals में what is not depicted? Fighting scenes are not depicted in most of the Harappan seals. In very few Harappan seals, fighting scenes are also depicted. One of the Harappan seals, very unique, is also one where what? A man is shown in the center holding two tigers by the neck. Okay. A similar seal is found in Mesopotamia, where an individual standing in the center holding not two tigers but two lions. Okay. So yes, lion is also not known to Harappans, Okay, most likely lion is also not known to Harappan. Horse is also, I will keep saying most likely, but it is most definitely also. अभी तक तो नहीं मिला, कोई ढूंढ ले यहाँ horse. By the way, in 99, 2000, what? Somebody learned how to use Photoshop effectively. In the year 1999, 2000, somebody learned how to use Photoshop effectively, and that person claimed कि मैंने ढूंढ लिया क्या घोड़ा. And this was published in newspapers. The front line eventually carried an article after almost a year that what was initially claimed to be the finding of horse remains is not true. Whoever did this finding basically only did a Photoshop. Okay, so and now we are living in the age of AI. तो आपको जो बताना है सब ढूंढ सकते हैं आप. Generate whatever you want to generate, right? So I hope this is clear. Next, we'll take a break, and yes, two deers also at the bottom. That's true as well. So you have the two deers at the bottom also, right? If you see this here, right, you see the two deers are at the bottom. You have the tiger, you have the elephant, you have the rhino, and you have the bull, right? And the zebu seal, as told, is the more commoner of the seal. Pashupati seal is not a common seal. It's a very rare seal, okay, because it is very elaborately carved, and this most likely is for decorative purposes. It was most likely for a decorative purpose. Yes. Lion was known to the Indus people, yes and no both, right? That's what I'm saying. But there is no major evidence of findings of lions also in any of the seals. Okay, so that's why I'm saying it's also not, and the horse also is not. Tiger is known, right? And that's why you find it, right? So yes, is this much clear? So we'll take a break. We'll continue after the break, and my attempt would be today कि we should finish up Vedic after this, and then also hopefully Mauryans or the Mahajanpada period to begin with. उतना तो हमें करना ही चाहिए. फिर बुद्धिज्म जैनिज्म पे उसके बाद आएंगे. So we can, but Mauryan or Mahajanpada period is also something we will try to. Thank you. हाँ जी. हाँ. अच्छा. It's 10:40, right? So we start 11:10. Half an hour. 11:10 we start.